Justin Gaethje, who's disappeared, by the way, right? Justin Gaethje disappeared, but now he's back, and he's right in front of everybody. I maintain for you to this day, any problem at 155 pounds, the answer is Justin Gaethje. Any question you ask me, who should do this, who should do that, who should we put in a big spot, who do we know it over here? If it involves 155, right answer without even letting you finish the question, boom, I submit Justin Gaethje. I still think I'm right. He went quiet. He's back. Great. He said some interesting things. One of which was a likelihood, and I'm quoting, a likelihood of me fighting Conor McGregor is 0%. Now, different approach, right? You've only got a couple. Oh, I want to fight Conor and he's scared of me and I'll kick his ass. Or you have the other one, which is very rarely done, and Gaethje did, which is to just remove it from the table completely. A way that you don't go and look like, try to pursue something, not get it, end up looking like a fool when Conor brushes you away. Fine. Not a bad approach. But when Justin Gaethje says that, it makes me think moreover, what does the rest of Conor's career really look like? What does it really look like? And Conor's gone back and forth, right? I can only take a guy at his word. His word has changed. His mentality has changed. That's okay. Very common. But everything from I'm going to be done with MMA to I'm going to go into the world of boxing to I'm going to start my own promotion to, okay, I'm back in MMA. This is all I want to do. Revealed that he has 2 fights left on his UFC contract. I mean, what does this look like? If you're Conor McGregor, and there's big gaps historically between Conor fights, sadly, that could be 18 months. That could be 18 months to exhaust those 2 fights, and the clock doesn't start on those 18 months until he's back and healthy. Back in the gym, leg injury behind him. First match up, 18 months, who's he going to fight? It's a tough one. It seems as though Conor is very motivated and very gung-ho on MMA. It seems as though he wants to go out and have those 2 fights. Now, I think you would be foolish to predict Conor's mindset 18 months from now is the same as Conor's mindset right now. It seems with many guys, I'm talking Conor here, but with many guys with a level of success makes them want to do it less. Some guys use that as a springboard. Man, I can't wait. I want to get back out there. I'm hungry. If you were to go and look at Gilbert Burns, I don't know if there is anybody, definitely a lot of meaningful top 5 guy. I don't know if there's anybody as hungry to compete. Anyone, anywhere, anytime, you figure out how you want to do it. I hear from Gilbert Burns he wants to do grappling matches all the time. Him and Jake Shields are going to grapple. I'm just offering you the example that you have Gilbert Burns, who is this red-hot, hungry competitor. Never talked about the money. Sure, he has title aspirations. Not contingent on that. Sure, he's a main event guy. Doesn't have to be, right? There's no contingencies. There's no strings. Gilbert wants a match. The end. Hard stop. We don't have anyone else like Gilbert. And when you do have guys that have a level of success, even the hungry ones like Gilbert, there's something that comes with that success that dims that fire instead of igniting it. It's just a reality. I bring that to you because if we're attempting to guess what Conor's going to do, we're left with very little information that right now he's on an injury list. He's going to come back. He's dying. He's raring to come back. He's going to heal that leg. He's going to fix things. And we know that he has 2 fights left. Now, 2 fights, if we get both of them, I think would be a major success for us, the community. Because this sport is a hell of a lot more fun with McGregor than without him. Can we agree on that? Okay. Let's say Conor comes back and loses. Is that only going to ignite him more? Does he seek motivation in defeat more than he does in victory? I'm asking the questions because whatever he comes back to is going to be big. Not only because Conor's big, but now you're going to have the only principle that you ever need to learn in economics, which is supply and demand. He's going to have that, and it's going to be a rivalry of some sort. And what does that look like? Is that Poirier? A lot of moving parts to make it Poirier. It could be. Is it Diaz? A lot of moving parts. Could be. Does Conor go and find somebody else? Could be. Let's say he loses. Does he want to come back? Does he want to come back? He will have a contract renegotiation of some degree My guess is Conor's going to exhaust this contract. Win or lose, one thing that I think we can count on regardless of commas and zeros is Conor's going to exhaust and run out this contract. Second guess, if he wins. If he wins, does that then take a level of motivation away from him, as we've seen it do, not only to him, but to so many others? So it's a very tough spot. Gaethje doesn't know if he'll fight Conor. None of us do. That one doesn't sound like the fight that you would make right now. The fight that you are all excited and want to see right now involves Gaethje and Chandler, and you're going to see it at Madison Square Garden. The fight that many people are discussing is Poirier and McGregor, but that can change extremely quickly. Diaz sits out there somewhere. Does McGregor want to stay at 155? I mean, I'll lay out a scenario for you where I can see Conor fighting for a world championship. As silly as it might seem, there's a different set of rules for Conor, and when and if he comes back, does it in a main event, does it in great fashion, it's not completely unlikely that he uses his last fight up at 170 pounds, possibly challenging for a belt. Possibly. You won't convince me that Conor McGregor isn't one way a win from being a number one contender. And you won't convince me that Conor isn't one win away from being in a discussion to fight for this champ business on his last hurrah at 170. And you're never going to convince me that Kamaru Usman or Colby Covington, whoever's got the belt at that time, come on in. So there's a lot of moving parts, right? It's very, very hard to guess, but it all ties back to, before we get the silly game of matchmaking, we go in 20 different weird directions, trying to just speak to the motivation. Couple of consistencies in Conor's career. There's gaps between his fights. If he's got 2 left, 18 months from the time that clock starts, not a terrible guess. 15, maybe a little more realistic. I think we're saying the same thing. Secondly, does a win detract from his motivation? Because we have seen that happen before. And not just with him, with a lot of guys. Losing remotivates a whole bunch of guys, not just him. But if he was to lose again and have one fight left, and the likelihood of walking out and getting a different result than you got in the previous one, not great. Do you walk out one more time to get one more loss? Or do you change the narrative, go into a different direction? And I don't know that I buy the idea that Conor wants out, by the way. Everybody's given an opportunity to get out. Conor has it right now, and he's not taking it. Right now, you leave the ring in a main event, top pay-per-view of all time, against a former champion who you weren't favored to beat in the first place, and you leave broken. There's your way out, and nobody questions you. Forever. 20 years from now, nobody looks back and questions his heart or determination. A compound fracture is a whole nother level of injury. I only bring that to you because that was the window, and Conor didn't step through it. He went the other way. Instead of coming out of a burning building, he went back into the fire. So we know there's a competitor in there. And we know there's a motivation there. And we know that there's a hunger there. The question becomes, after the next contest, win or lose, which are your only two options, where does that hunger and fire go? Will he use both of those fights? What would you predict? We also got sprinkled in somewhere. I mean, it came up and went away. I would think this would be a bigger story, but it wasn't. That there was some kind of a contract, verbally alleged, for Conor to go and box Pacquiao. Point being, he is looking in other directions. He has other options, one of the few. Gaethje says the likelihood of them ever meeting up, 0. Fine. Other pieces on the board. McGregor has said within the last week he has 2 fights left on his contract. Is he going to use them? I would love, and it's only a guess. It's only a guess. But I'd love to hear what your guess is.